हाँ।
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। दिसंबर सेशंस में आज हमारे साथ ऑर्गेनन के एक टीचर आए हैं, लुधियाना से हैं। लॉर्ड महावीरा हमारा कॉलेज, इस कॉलेज से मैं भी हूँ, डॉक्टर योगेश भी हैं और डॉक्टर मनीष भी वहीं से पढ़े हुए। तो हमारे टीचर हैं डॉक्टर ब्रिज भूषण, 30 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस है और ऑर्गेनन को एक धार्मिक ग्रंथ की तरह, जिस तरह से वो प्रेजेंट करते हैं अपनी लाइफ में, बच्चों को एक इंटरेस्ट के साथ, एक साइंटिफिक तरीका भी साथ में वो अपनाते हैं, वो बहुत बेहतर है उनका। और उनका टॉपिक जो है वो है टेक्निकल इंसाइट इनटू हाउ वी फॉल सिक। ये लाइन देखने में सुनने में बहुत सिंपल है, पर आज इसको समझेंगे सर के साथ, सर की जुबान में। तो वेलकम सर जी।
Thank you.
सर आप स्टार्ट करेंगे?
Yeah, should I start?
हाँ जी, श्योर श्योर।
So, Dr. Brij Bhushan, as she said, I have been the student of organance since the 30 plus 4, 5 means rather we are studying the organance since 1988, so it's 34 year. But you can call it experience, but I say experience is the name given to our mistakes. I think you agree. So today's topic is insight into how we fall sick. Seemingly very simple, that we fall sick due to this or that. People say so many things. You don't have the proper diet, exercise, or lifestyle, or people say so many things. Mind condition, physical condition, social. But when we come to the technical points, the meaning is always much more deeper, and there is a much to be understood than we understand. So let's come to the point about the disease. Before starting the disease, we all understand. I will just throw light a few words about the health also. Unless we know what is normal, we cannot understand what is abnormal. Unless we know what is ease, we cannot know the dis-ease. So, according to all of us knows, health is the balanced state of life. Or WHO says it is the state of complete physical, mental, social well-being of the individual and not merely the absence of the infirmity. But when we go to the some other aspect of the other dimension of the health, health is also multidimensional. As I have said in the definition, it is not only physical, mental, social, but when we go to the definition of positive health, it also includes physical, mental, social, emotional, financial, and spiritual health. Many times we understand, many times we hear also that person is healthy in all the physical parameters, but still he is not good. Your patient says, I am not good. As Kent has also written in his one of his lectures, the doctor says all your reports are normal, but still patient says I am not good. Then what the doctor suggests is you might have some problem with this or that, but the substitution or fill in the blanks of this or that is that health is a multidimensional issue: physical, mental, social, emotional, spiritual, and financial. Uh, so many aspects of health are there, and correspondingly, the disease is also multidimensional. It is never only physical, mental, social, but it is a holistic thing. It is the homeopathy only which understand the holistic concept of the health and holistic concept of the disease. Only homeopathy. All other sciences divide the man into parts, When we go to some hospital, there are many different departments: rheumatology, internal medicine, gastro, chest clinic, heart, neuro, and so on. And nowadays they have added super specialization in the internal departments also. You say in the MD medicine also, then they further super specialize into the endocrinologist, gastroenterologist, or other thing, DM or so called. Whereas homeopath understand just one thing: holistic concept. The holistic concept means, just in the Bible says God is one, the human being is also one. The vital force is one. It is the different expressions expressed at the different levels that we recognize as the branches of the same tree. So, health is the different aspects, different dimensions of health are there. I won't go into the details of the health, but we will today go into the details of the disease. Detail of the disease, how we fall sick. Now, everything stems from just one thing: the concept of homeopathy. And I understand, so far I have understood homeopathy is that homeopathy is a natural science having the three basic concepts. Well, I call it fundamental concepts of homeopathy, not the principles. Homeopathy has just three concepts: dynamic concept, holistic, and individualization. These three concepts will tell us what is health and what is disease. According to dynamic concept, we all understand that we are something more than the physical body, we are something more than the physical parts, and we are something more than the sum total of parts. As the Gestalt School of Psychology also says, Gestalt's schools of principle of perceptual organization says that total is different than the sum of its parts. We can very easily understand we have all the parts of, say, any machine, any scooter, anything. Those parts are not the assembled vehicle. We have to assemble them in a particular way, arrange in a particular plan, and there something has to be the dynamic power in that. Only then it functions as a unit. So this is dynamic, holistic. All of us know, even something, one single nut or part is missing, the machine is not fully functional. And then millions, lesser thousands, lesser hundreds coming to the single unit. Every unit function as a different one. Although made by the same automated machines, even now the robots are installed in every mechanical industry, production industry, and everywhere. But still, every unit function has a very much different. That is concept of individualization. In a very few words, I have just explained the meaning of the concept, basic concepts of homeopathy. Since this is my first lecture, so we have to just introduce the basic concepts of homeopathy: dynamic, holistic, and individualization. Because these are the very basis of our science, the fundamental to our science. Unless we understand what is holistic, what is dynamic, what is individualization, we cannot understand what a man is. So when we understand this point, let's proceed further. So man is just like a machine having the body, functioning, operating procedure as a brain, but still it has a soul to animate it. As we understand in aphorism 9, that what we understand in aphorism 9 is that in the healthy condition of man, in the healthy condition of man, what happens? The spiritual vital force, the dynamics that animates the material body, rules with unbounded sway. So man is not just composed of the body, flesh, fuel, flesh, bones, and everything, but it is the material body is animated by the dynamis, and that dynamis rules with unbounded sway. This is and retains all the parts of organism in the admirable, harmonious, vital operation as regards both sensation and functions. So this is the basic philosophy of human being in the homeopathy. It is not just the anatomy, not just the physiology. And same thing in the aphorism 11, Hahnemann begins with the very definition of the disease that when a person falls ill, it is only this spiritual, self-acting vital force everywhere present in his organism that is primarily deranged by the dynamic influence upon it of a morbific agent inimical to life. So before understanding what is disease, how the disease is caused in the body, we should understand that one point to be noted first is disease is the dynamic derangement of vital force. Nowhere in the organon, nowhere in the whole literature of the homeopathy, it is written that disease is the disease of a particular part, head, neck, brain, abdomen, liver, kidney, stomach, pancreas, but nowhere it is written about the disease. Everywhere, Dr. Honeyman and Dr. Kent and all other stalwarts have used the terminology as the sick, case of disease, and so far the motto goes in homeopathy is treat the man in disease, not the disease in man. So let us understand that when a person falls ill, it is only the spiritual self-acting vital force everywhere present in his organism that is primarily deranged. So body comes in the last. If we study all the lectures of Kant philosophy, first 10 lectures explain about this, what is disease, how it is caused, what is primarily deranged, and what is the proximate and what is ultimate, and how it is deranged by dynamic influence. Dynamic influence, all of us understand, action of one substance over the other without any actual interchange between the substances concerned. Of what? Morbific agent, inimical to life. Now, so far we understand this, that disease is not a physical entity, but it comes on the dynamic plane, have a holistic origin and effect, and it is very much individualistic in nature. Individualistic means no two machines are same in the beginning when they are out from the factory after manufacturing. Even a horn manufactured in the factory, which is, I think, millions of horns, beepers are manufactured, but after some days, everyone sounds differently. Why? Because it bears the individualistic impression of the user. Every machine, car, scooter, it is manufactured in the factory, but after 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, everyone has a very different sound. Everyone has a very different functioning and different type of the problems and so on, depending on what. That depends on the user, right? So, so far so good. We understand about the machine, so-called man. And now we will talk about the what is disease. So in a very short way, we understand about the human body. We understand that disease is the dynamic derangement of vital force. It is not something physical, but it is a sum total of the three things. Just like a AC installed your clinic, it has a body, visible body. And mind of the AC is compression. And the machine installed, computer, semiconductor chip, and everything installed in the machine. That take the decisions according to the remote, what you say. But it cannot function if the soul or the electricity is not there. Human body also functions in that way. Body is visible, it is just a box, it is just a part controlled by brain, psyche, but governed by the vital force or so-called soul or the governing force. Now, how we fall sick? Before that, we come to some point that we are endowed with some basic faculties of the brain. Although vital force is also there, but we are endowed with three basic mechanisms in the human body, which is because disease is just a reaction, it's just a behavior of the body. But every behavior needs two preconditions. One is cognition, second is perception, and third is behavior. So everything begins with the cognition. Cognition is that faculty of the brain which comprises attention, sensation, understand, and we know that when we are in the air, we standing on the airport or railway station or anywhere, or during some function or in the class, first of all, what they say is, may I have your attention, please? So attention is what? Focusing of your concentration, your consciousness to the one stimulus to the exclusion of all others. Then our ears are and eyes are totally focused on the announcement, audio or visual of our own interest. That is attention. And when the attention is there, there is sensation. Sensation is what? Transport or conversion of external stimuli to what our brain comprehends. Say we are standing on the Delhi airport or somewhere where the language is Hindi, English, or a vernacular language. But if we stand at the Tamil Nadu or Chennai or somewhere else, they and make the announcement in the Tamil, can we understand? Although our ears are hearing that audios, stimulus is there. That is sensation only. But we cannot understand what they are saying. So having the meaningful experience of any sensation is called perception. So perception is must to understand. Although eyes, ear, nose, skin, taste, tongue, these are the receptors. These receive the stimuli, and mostly we receive our information from the audio and visuals. But audio and visual are comprehended only if we have already perception of that, learning of that. And that is stored in the learning, intelligence, memory, past experience. So perception, and we all have heard this thing, eyes do not see what the mind does not perceive. Ears do not hear what the mind does not perceive. So perception should be there. So it is the cognition, perception, and finally when we perceive, then we behave according to that, and the visible actions is called behavior. Suppose we see some accidental injury, we are least bothered about that. Our mind perceives that this is the routine accident, we pass away, or if we are very good Samaritan, then we help the person take that to hospital and also that. But if we are in a hurry or some going somewhere else or some time condition is there, we simply pass away. Because in our perception, we don't know that that thing is person is related with us. But if we see some relative close or near dear or someone see that person in the pool of blood or accident, we are immediately moved. Our perception is different in that situation. Situation and perception totally changes with the what? Step entry of the emotions. So perception is basically their emotion also, attention also. The first step was cognition. So when we perceive that situation as the stressful one, dangerous one, then we act in accordance and we call for the ambulance. We take the person, give the CPR or like that. That is behavior. So I just explained the basic mechanism or the process involved in the production of disease. Now, how this is connected with the disease, I'm coming to that point also. Main point of the topic is technical insight into how we fall sick. But before we understand how we fall sick, we should know about the cognition, perception, and reaction or behavior. So these are the three things which basically decides everything: cognition, perception, and reaction. Now, what is the cognition? Actually, all of us understand that we have a built-in mechanism of understanding the surroundings. That is cognition or sensation. Then we perceive the things. Now, how this concept is applicable here in the concept and production of diseases, I'm coming to that point. So that point is this all process goes by the name of general adaptation syndrome, GAS, commonly known as GAS or general adaptation syndrome. So let us understand what is general adaptation syndrome is, what is the built-in mechanism of the diseases, how diseases are produced in the body, how we adapt to the situations. So let us understand that. So general adaptation syndrome, this syndrome is explained in the psychology in context with the stress. So all of us understand verbally also when somebody falls sick or when we go to some sick person or bedside of some relatives, we just say one thing: don't take tension, don't take stress. This is a part of life. Don't overreact. Take it lightly. Keep your mind calm. Stay cool. It's a normal thing in the life. But is it a normal thing? So general adaptation syndrome is the basic physiology involved behind every pathology. Say this is the basic physiology concept, or you can say the word is pathogenesis of every pathology. Pathology is the produced disease or structural changes. Pathogenesis is process of production of the disease. Genesis, when it is genning, when it is originating. So in the pathogenesis, how body perceive the things, rather body doesn't perceive, it is the mind which perceive the things. How it cognize the things, how it perceives the things, then how it produces the so-called disease in the body, what is our today's topic. So as we all know that stress is the greatest epidemic of today. It is the stress which produces all the diseases. It is the, but what kind of stress? So let's understand this whole process or physiology of the disease and pathogenesis of the disease. So stress is what? It is the natural human response to challenging or stressful situations. It can be a feeling of pressure, worry, mental tension, and it can be caused by different life events such as starting new job. Hans Sally has listed 47 different events in the as the stressors or the triggers. So stresses of both type, distress and eustress, EU. Distress is when you feel very much stress, burnout, burdened, some hurry, some injury, death. injury, disease, divorce, starting a new job, getting admission into a new school, changing the residence, changing the city. So these are the examples. Hundreds of examples are there which can act as the triggering events. But apart from the major events, there are general daily life hazards, catastrophes, and daily things happening every day. So what happens there is when stress, we perceive and we can perceive any situation as the stress. What happened there is we are provided with the built-in software in the form of autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is which automatically controls the our involuntary muscles such as heart, brain, muscles, circular and longitudinal muscles of the blood vessels, heart, lung, liver, kidneys. These are performing according to the autonomic nervous system with three branches: sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, and enteric nervous system. Basically, we have all have heard about the two, but the third one also exists, enteric nervous system. Because gut also, or enteric means gut. Gut also has a nervous system from where it performs 80% of the different activities which contributes towards the production of the various different neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are not only produced in the brain but also in the gut. Serotonin also. So, for example, serotonin. Only 20% of serotonin happy chemical is found in the brain and 80% is found in the gut. For example, we feel very happy and get pleasure when we eat our desired food. We relish some food, serotonin is created there. So coming to the point, how this whole process happens, let's understand that. So stress is what? When our mind perceives some situation as the threatening to life or some harm, some danger, some loss, or something unpleasant. Although this system was built in by the God to survive, this is a survival strategy, fight or flight response. So stress is basically it is built-in mechanism for our benefit. In the olden times, when the man, Stone Age man or the old man used to live in the jungles or somewhere, they were always on the alert. Why? Any animal, any natural danger or anything could be there, and they had only two things to do: fight or flight. So, what happened there is, whenever there is, our mind perceive that as a threat. Fight or flight response is the hallmark of the sympathetic nervous system. And parasympathetic is opposite: rest and digest and calm down. So, what happened there is, whenever our mind perceives something as the threatening, whether it is actually threatening or not, here lies the key to the diseases. That when we perceive something as the life threatening, we don't know whether it is life threatening or not, but our mind, through the cognition and the perception, because perception is what? There are certain seeds of the disease: separation, quarrels, divorce, death, past. Seeds of disease are sown since the childhood when the child is taught that red color is the sign of danger. Although yesterday we understood on the day of Christmas, red color is the color of making merry, happiness. But still, as the Pavlovian principles of classical conditioning, our mind has associated everything red as the sign of danger. So, depending upon our upbringing, our encounters with the day to day life, events in the day to day life, we have established certain beliefs. According to the activating events, we have certain belief that snake is dangerous, red color means danger, or police, all policemen, God for, I don't say everybody, but don't mind it, that police are officials are corrupt. We have established certain beliefs. And whenever any situation arises where we feel the threat, our mind feel the or situation after the cognition, depending upon the past experience, we perceive the situation as the unpleasant, dangerous, threatening, some loss, some harm. What do we do? Built-in mechanism, automatically there is this process of the general adaptation syndrome is initiated in involuntary as a built-in mechanism for survival. And what happens in the general adaptation syndrome is, say, I won't talk about the types of stress here because there can be everyone has a different type of stress. So general adaptation syndrome is what? There is three stages mentioned in the general adaptation syndrome. You can Google it or you can search it in any book of psychology. So there are three stages of the general adaptation syndrome. The first stage is called stage of alarm reaction. Alarm, everybody understands. Alarm means be alert. So body is put at the alert. How? When we perceive after the cognition, our brain give the signal to the reticular activating system, limbic system, and amygdala in the brain. These systems technically deal with all these things. And of course, hypothalamus is secreted there. Hypothalamus is stimulated there. So whenever the hypothalamus is given a message that some stress is there, whether it is a perceived stress or it is a genuine stress, and one very important technical and scientific finding is that our brain cannot differentiate between the real and imaginary events. It takes every stimulus as if it is very much real. Our mind cannot differentiate between the real and imaginary stimuli. So that's the reason why 4D, 5D movies, when we see that, we take them as the real. So whenever any stressful situation our mind perceives, the stage one of the general adaptation syndrome, it is activated. So when the stage is alarm reaction. So when that stage of the alarm reaction is stimulated, what happens there is hypothalamus is stimulated, and what happens, why it is triggered also, the cause is that the homeostasis is disturbed. When our body perceives that, mind perceives that homeostasis is disturbed, the stage one alarm reaction is stimulated. Now what happens in the alarm reaction? The sympathetic nervous system is activated. And all of us understand what happens during the sympathetic activation is that cortisol, a very the hormone, stress hormone, it is secreted from the suprarenal glands of the body, which is the which triggers and initiate the stress response to the body. So when the cortisol as well as adrenaline in the stage of extreme fear, rush, excitement, and cortisol in the stress. So when that hormone or neurotransmitter is secreted, what happens? This triggers the sympathetic nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system, when it is activated, we know that right from the first brain to all the organs, we know that from the brain there is anxiety feeling is there. Then cortisol disturbs just like a big stone thrown into the pond. It disturbs everything. pupils contracts, then thymus is also contracted or rather produced, pineal gland is reverse or the opposite action happens on the pineal gland, less of melatonin is secreted, then thyroid, TSH, then gonads. Most action is there on the maximum action happens on the pancreas. Excess of the glucose is stimulated there. Vasoconstriction of all the blood vessels happens, thereby increases the blood pressure, blood sugar. It stimulates the eyes, pupillary reflexes there. Then it stimulates the urinary bladder, where the over bladder is overactive because that one sympathetic system, it fight or flight response. Either you have to fight or you have to flight. For both the purpose, we need excess of more of the energy. We need all the system on the edge. Just like when VIP visit the city, all the resources are mobilized, whether it is the police, health resources, fire brigade, and everything is on the edge to act instantly. So what happened there is extra sugar is added into the blood. Blood due to vasoconstriction, blood pressure is increased, heartbeat increases, mouth frequently dries up, then more thirst is there. We all are on the all of the system is on the alert, and that creates a lot of energy. Responsible hormones are adrenaline and cortisol, and body is on the survival mode. Or we can say the panic button is pressed. And whenever the panic button is pressed, hooter is on, hanker, everybody run helter skelter. There is absolute chaos in the body. And so this is the preparation of the body to meet with any eventuality, any stressful or dangerous events. So brain has a feeling of confusion, and when we have heard that when you are under the state of stress, don't take any decision. You may take the wrong decision. Let the things settle down. Only then take the stress. So that stage is there. So we understand this is the beginning of the first stage alarm reaction. Now the second stage is there of the general adaptation syndrome is stage of resistance. Now resistance stage is also stage of adaptation. What do we adapt is resources are mobilized and body try to adapt. Endocrine system is also activated. All the hormones, endocrine hormones are stimulated in and they put their secretions in the blood, as I just told you. Insulin, glucagon, every hormone is mobilized. I won't go into that detail, so that we may fight with any eventuality. Now, in the meantime, VIP comes and goes, or there was the false alarm, or something else. Through our senses, through our cognition, we come to know that was false alarm. Or even if the VIP, when it moves away from the city, then the forces are sent to back to their barracks, medical ground. Medical staff is also sent to hospital, and all the guards and forces and security and these warriors, so-called, they are sent back to their normal places, and the storm is over, and we go back to our place. So adaptation is done. The crisis is over. Now signal is sent to the brain that everything is good, or you have settled, or you have tackled the emergency. Now go back to your normal position. So this is adaptation, second stage of resistance. But somehow, when we are in a habit of perceiving every little event or occurring as the stressful one, then what happens? There is a graph, just like a graph, we show that some graph is going like in the state of adaptation and then going down. Now, as we know, all the pathology and etiology of the diabetes, that in the beginning, when there is a such stage, excess of the insulin is produced by the pancreas. It is continuously being produced, and ultimately a stage comes when pancreas also stops producing, not stops, but reduces producing that, and ultimately we come to know that the person is down with the medical condition called diabetes. So this is also the pathogenesis and pathology of diabetes and rather any other disease, whether hypertension also and same. So what happened there is when this disease comes, then if we understanding through meditation, through progressive muscular relaxation or any other yoga, meditation, or calm down the mind, then helpful, useful for our body. But when this general adaptation syndrome is there or without any actual threat, is it just the illusion of the mind or some delusion, false perception? That illusion is ill vision, ropes hanging through the wall or from a wall or tree, coat or hanging overcoat considered as the man or snake. But when you switch on the light, we come to know this is just an illusion and we come back to normal our senses. So when we think that this is just an illusion, we come back to normal, we go back to the normal, but there is a state of the permanent anxiety or permanent such delusion or illusion. What happens? We are we pass on to the third stage of the general adaptation syndrome, that is called exhaustion. Now our resources exhaust, and when the resources exhaust, what happens? Then we fall sick. Then we go to the process of disease. So this is how the actually the disease is produced. See, when the resources are exhausted, now false alarm is no longer a false alarm. Body is these sources are depleted and the body falls sick. There is insulin spike, sugar is less, then the false hunger is there, diabetes, anxiety, and weight gain. And all that is from the process of the general adaptation syndrome, right? So that means the cortisol is now secreted all the times, adrenaline is secreted all the times, whereas the reverse of the messengers or the neurotransmitters in the body, such as which protect us from various diseases, dopamine, dose, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, those happy chemicals or these things are now depleting, reducing. Ultimately, man is always there. And what happened as a result of this is what is the weakening of the immune system, increased risk of the viral illnesses, or increasing the now time for the recovery. Or what mental health we can say, worsening the pre-existing health problem, isolation, increased seclusion, increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or exacerbating the other mental conditions. So now the exaggerated response, as I said, cognition, perception, and now the behavior. Being the behavior, there is an emotional response, annoyance, anger, anxiety, fear, dejection, and grief. Then physiological response, as I just told you, autonomic arousal, hormonal fluctuations, neurochemical changes, and then behavioral responses. Coping effects are depleting. Now the person becomes irritable, blaming oneself, seeking help, and releasing the negative hormones and emotions. So this is actually the physiology or pathophysiology of the every disease general adaptation syndrome, is the pathology or physiology of the every disease. So after this, what happen is the disease condition now becomes permanent right from the temporary solution. Now it becomes permanent. This is how the pathology develops, and the source of the disease, the cause which was exciting, now become maintaining and now become the fundamental cause. So cognition, perception, and reaction. Now the disease condition is permanent. The general adaptation syndrome is there, the disease, and then now we call the diseases as the psychosomatic diseases. Or type A behavior is there in the person, always perfectionist, perfection wanting, and heart disease comes, strong competitiveness, impatience, time, urgency, and then responses. So what happened there is it reduces now the immune activity also, because all the resources are now directed towards the management of that. So mobilization of the glucose, changes in blood circulation, increase in the heart and respiratory rates, increased use of energy everywhere. So now the person permanently becomes panicky. He is always on the edge, and this is how the disease condition. In the behavioral responses also, frustration, aggression, and this is what the disease condition, general adaptation syndrome, how the disease begins, how the disease is maintained by the body holistically, and how the symptoms are produced. So, according to this, the disease condition is now in the body, but still we understand aphorism 187 says these affections, alterations, and ailments appearing on external parts do not arise from any external injury or that have only some slight external wound from their immediate exciting or produced in quite another manner. Their source lies in some internal malady. So that internal malady, what is the internal malady? This is what I have told you. What is the meaning of the internal malady? What is the exact meaning of the internal malady? Or how disease comes from within, never from outside. No disease comes from outside, but every disease comes from within. And now, 189 aphorism says that yet very little reflection will suffice to convince us that no external malady can arise, persist, or even grow worse without some internal cause, without the cooperation of the whole organism, which must consequently be in a disease state. This is what I explained. The whole organism, which is how it is produced in the diseased state, it could not make its appearance at all without the consent of the whole of the rest of the health body and without the participation of the rest of the living whole. This is what I explained the aphorism 189 with the retrospective effect, that what is the whole, what we call the whole, to which mechanism we call the holistic concept, what is the internal mechanism involved in the production of disease. So it says, I again repeat, it means disease could not make its appearance at all without the consent of the whole of the rest of the health. So this is the behind the scenes events happening, and without the participation of the rest of the living whole, of the vital force that pervades all the other sensitive and irritable parts of the organism. This is the meaning of actually the aphorism 189 written in the brackets, sensitive and irritable parts of the organism. What is sensitive? What is irritable? What is triggered there? Indeed, it is impossible to conceive its production without the instrumentality of the whole deranged life. This is what the holistic concept in homeopathy, what I started in the beginning, so intimately are all the parts of organism connected together to form an indivisible whole in the sensation and functions. No eruption on the lips, no whitlow can occur without previous and simultaneous internal ill health. This is the actual explanation of the what we call as the theoretical subject of organon. We call organon as a very theoretical subject, that there is something written that internal ill health, simultaneous holistic concept and all that. What is the holistic or what is there in the organism? We all say such things. So with the or you can say now understand this in the other words, that this is the holistic concept of the disease. And I explained you about the pathogenesis of the disease. What is the holistic? What is the internal organism? So inside what is happening, because whatever the symptoms we observe through the body, they appear in the different parts of the body, different systems of the body, different mechanisms in the body, renin-angiotensin mechanism, aldosterone mechanism producing the blood pressure, or the insulin sensitivity reduced in the diabetes, or in the CA, what happened? Genetic mutation is there, but nothing can happen or appear in the body without this kind of internal settlement. When there is an internal settlement there, without this internal settlement, so there can no disease can appear inside, right? So again, I say that we understand that system is stimulated. We understand general adaptation syndrome, how it works is hypothalamus is stimulated in that way. Hypothalamus further commands the pituitary, and pituitary further signal the adrenal glands. It is called hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, hypothalamic pituitary pancreas axis, hypothalamic pituitary gonads axis, hypothalamic pituitary. Every organ in the body is connected and controlled by the some endocrine hormone, and that target organ along with the target hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, these axes are actually stimulated in the body, and then the there is imbalance or disturbance in the body. That imbalance or the disturbance in the body produces all the diseases. But actually the thing is, hold for a second.
सर आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया हुआ है.
आई थिंक सर का कोई कॉल आया हुआ है.
Yeah, there was some call. There was some call. So after this, let us understand. I am very much into the organon. I am very much explaining just the organon with the scientific background. Whatever is written in the organon, it has a very, very scientific explanation, just like the holistic concept, aphorism 189, and all that I explained with the some scientific explanation. Now I will just sum up the today's topic as the time is there for 5 minutes left. That I will also like to explain the aphorism 201. Now, it is evident that man's vital force, when encumbered with the chronic disease, just hold. So there are calls between that. So what it says is, it is evident that man's vital force, when encumbered with the chronic disease, which it is unable to overcome by its sound powers, instinctively, whatever the process of general adaptation syndrome I explained to you, that is instinctive process, which do not require any voluntary effort. These are the instincts or patterns or mechanism built in software inside the body. Now he further says, adopts the plan of developing a local melody on some external part solely for this object, that by making and keeping in the disease state this part which is not indispensable to the human life, the part which is indispensable, not indispensable, जिसके बिना गुजारा नहीं हो सकता, means जिसके बिना गुजारा हो सकता, it may thereby silence the internal disease which otherwise threaten to destroy the vital organs. So what I want to tell is that disease is just a survival strategy. It is just a plan adopted by the vital force to save the person from complete destruction and to deprive the patient of life, and that it may thereby, so to speak, transfer the internal disease to the vicarious local affection and, as it were, draw it thither. The presence of the local affection thus silences for a time the internal disease, though without being able either to cure it or to diminish it materially. Although it is incapable, but every disease is just a survival strategy. It is just a survival mechanism to survive only.
सर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
ब्रिज सर, आपकी आवाज चले गई है। हेलो ब्रिज सर, पता नहीं, शायद कोई नेटवर्क इश्यू ना हो। ब्रिज सर, अनम्यूट चल रहा है सर का।
उनका प्रॉब्लम दिख रहा है कुछ साउंड में।
हम्म। हेलो ब्रिज सर, कुछ इश्यू आ रहा है साउंड में। एक सेकेंड में कॉल करती हूँ।
फॉरवर्ड होके वापस आ जाएगा।
क्या हुआ?
उनकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
सर मे भी कॉल आ गई होगी बीच में ना।
नहीं, वो कहते कॉल आए थे, और उसके बाद ज्वाइन मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो कुछ आ नहीं रहा, ना वीडियो आ रहा है, तो कहते मैं निकल के वापस आता हूँ।
अच्छा अच्छा ठीक है।
नहीं, नहीं आ रही है।
2 मिनट, 2 मिनट
जाता
लगेंगे आई थिंक।
वापस आए।
हम्म।
ब्रिज सर, आप विड्रॉ करके आ जाइए दोबारा। चले गए, अब आएंगे।
कितना टाइम पड़ा है अभी और?
कोई नहीं, 10-15 मिनट तो निकल जाएंगे। और
बस ठीक है।
उनको पता है कि टाइम जा रहा है, वो खुद
नहीं
ही
वो तो
बोल
कोई
रहे थे।
बात नहीं, टाइम देते कोई गल नहीं। टाइम ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਉਹ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕੋਈ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟ ਜੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੈ, ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ। ਇੱਕ ਵਧੀਆ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਕੰਟੀਨਿਊਟੀ।
हाँ जी ब्रिज सर। ब्रिज सर अनम्यूट कीजिए अपने आप को और वीडियो भी ऑन कीजिए।
Yes, am I audible?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
ये
ऑडिबल अब ठीक।
यस सर।
Okay, am I audible?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी सर।
So I think given time is up, so I am about to sum up that as per organ disease is just a survival strategy. I tried to explain that aphorism 189 and 201. In the end, I am telling you this that I was actually trying to explain aphorism 189 and 201 that disease is nothing but it is the survival strategy, and disease is just a sum total of all the different internal mechanisms in the body. So that internal sensitivity, irritability, and all that. So it is nothing. There are no diseases, but only sick people. And we have to understand the holistic concept of disease in order to grasp this, what the actually disease is, and how we have to handle the patient, how to how to give the medicine on this holistic concept. Because increase in any biochemistry, biochemical product, or blood pressure or genetic mutation, that is not the disease, that is the end product of the disease name given to the internal chemical processes. So this was just about the pathogenesis. Treatment strategy or how to handle is also mentioned in the organ and everywhere, or different things are mentioned some other day or some other time. So I don't know how many are attached. Any question is there? So we, if you permit the time, then we can take the questions also.
सर एक क्वेश्चन तो आया है। उन्होंने
Hmm.
बोला है कि लेक्चर अच्छा है, पर विच बुक वी कैन स्टडी इट, एनी सोर्स बुक।
Sources फर्स्ट तो मैंने अभी एंड में आपको बता दिया है, एफरिज्म 189 201 है, राइट? Then we have to understand the general adaptation syndrome, introduction to psychology. Write down the name of book, Introduction to Psychology by Morgan and King. This is the
ओके,
book of psychology. Organ and इंट्रोडक्शन, ऑर्गेनन तो डॉक्टर हनीमैन की है, और साइकोलॉजी की इंट्रोडक्शन टू साइकोलॉजी बाय मॉर्गन एंड किंग। देयर
कोई
इन द
और सवाल
चैप्टर
हो तो, हाँ
इन
जी,
द
कोई और
चैप्टर ऑफ
सवाल हो
स्ट्रेस।
तो प्लीज आइए सामने।
यस,
किसी का सवाल हो तो प्लीज। आई थिंक सर कोई सवाल नहीं है। इजी आपने समझाया था, जिस तरह से आपने सिंपल सेंटेंस को समझाया सर, वो काफी बेहतर था।
सो थैंक
योगेश,
यू वेरी मच फॉर पेशेंटली लिसनिंग मी। थैंक यू वेरी
थैंक
मच
यू
ऑल
सर।
द
नहीं ये
पार्टिसिपेंट्स।
इतना वर्ड नहीं है सर, सिंपली ये ऐसे नहीं है, सिंपल है। आप इसको मैम हम इसको बोल सकते हैं, इट इज ए कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव। इट
बिल्कुल।
इज हर चीज को इसने कनेक्ट किया है। और बेसिकली हम इस पार्ट को मिस करते हैं, राइट? हम
हाँ जी,
हम सिर्फ पेशेंट के ओवरऑल सिम्टम्स को अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं, डिजीज को अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं, पर ये भूल जाते हैं कि जब भी डिजीज होएगी, वाइटल फोर्स डिस्टर्ब होएगी, वो बॉडी के सिस्टम को ही यूज करेगी वो डिजीज क्रिएट करने के लिए। और उस सिस्टम को अंडरस्टैंड करना बहुत जरूरी है। जैसे सर ने बताया, द रोल ऑफ कॉर्टिसोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। रोल ऑफ बाकी के जितने हार्मोन है, मेलेटोनिन का रोल क्या है, कैसे ग्रोथ हार्मोन इफेक्ट करते हैं, इंसुलिन से उसका रिलेशन क्या है, जब तक वो हम नहीं समझते प्रॉपरली, हम पेशेंट को गाइड भी नहीं कर सकते उसकी डाइट के लिए, उसकी डे टू डे हैबिट के लिए। सो बहुत बढ़िया था सर, और टोटली मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा और अच्छे से अंडरस्टैंड हुआ। थैंक यू सर।
एक हिमानी का क्वेश्चन है। हिमानी सामने आके पूछिए बेटा।
गुड
डॉक्टर
मॉर्निंग
हिमानी,
सर। गुड मॉर्निंग मैम।
वीडियो ऑन, गुड मॉर्निंग, वीडियो ऑन कीजिए बेटा।
मैम मुझे बस ये पूछना था कि ये जो सर ने लेक्चर लिया है, सो उसको हम पैथोलॉजी या फिजियोलॉजी को साइकोलॉजी से कैसे लिंक करेंगे, मतलब हम इनिशियल बिगनर्स कैसे स्टडी करें उसको?
रिलेट तो मैंने कर दिया बेटा। हमने ऑर्गेनन के एफरिज्म को एक्सप्लेन करा विद सम इनसाइड, क्या लो या विद द हेल्प ऑफ द साइकोलॉजी, बिकॉज बॉडी इज नथिंग, माइंड इज द मेन। तो आई ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन, मैंने ये एक्सप्लेन करने, आई ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन हाउ द डिजीज इज प्रोड्यूस्ड इनसाइड द बॉडी by our own defense mechanisms. For that, just Dr. Promila asked, or Dr. Yogesh explained, it is the disease.
हाँ जी, कोई और सवाल हो तो? किसी का कोई और सवाल?
डॉक्टर साहब रुकिया करो, हजी वो जवाब दे रहे हैं।
आवाज आ रही नहीं थी,
हाँ
बंद
तो
होगी।
फोन बंद हो, फोन बंद हो
अच्छा
ना।
अच्छा।
हाँ रुकिया करो 2 मिनट।
सर फिर से आवाज गई।
हाँ,
कोई नहीं, जाने वाला आता भी है वापस।
बस
कुछ फोन में। चलिए, अब तो सवाल जवाब ही है। कोई सवाल हो तो प्लीज देर में आप लिख देंगे, वही आंसर मिल जाएगा। तो थैंक यू ब्रिज सर। योगेश एक बार कॉल करके देखेगा सर, क्योंकि उनकी मुझे लगता है फिर से वही प्रॉब्लम आ रही है।
हाँ मे बी
है ना?
क्वेश्चन क्या था?
अरे वो फिर चले गए हैं वापस, मुझे लगता है फिर से विथड्रॉ करके आएंगे। क्वेश्चन था फिजियोलॉजी और पैथोलॉजी को लिंक कैसे करना साइकोलॉजी के साथ।
हम्म। जैसे सर ने अभी एक्सप्लेन भी किया ना, तो
Yeah.
उसमें आगे सर आगे
आगे आगे सर।
Explanation is what we have to understand is how, what are the hidden processes, how our mind is governed. मैंने start कहाँ से किया था? Cognition, perception and reaction. For that we have to understand simply the some part of the psychology. Today's lecture is related with the stress chapter. Morgan and King, Introduction to Psychology is the name of the book. In the chapter of stress, there you will find general adaptation syndrome, or simply Google general adaptation syndrome. You will find what is the physiology, what is general adaptation syndrome, how body behaves in the stressful situations, and as a result, how the different autonomic nervous system is stimulated, sympathetic system is stimulated. What is, because body has two controls. Quick control is nervous control, and delayed control is what? Delayed control is endocrine control. Through these two controls, the body responses to the different stimuli. And when the body responses to the different stimuli, as I explained in the aphorism 201, it adopts a plan to restrict the disease to the least important parts in the body, which are not indispensable for life. Thereby, if we understand this process, make the patient understand this. For information, all of you might have heard about the GNM theory, German New Medicine, Dr. Hammer theory. He attended 66,000 cases of cancer and he treated them successfully without any medicine, just curing the timeline of the person, just making him aware of this general adaptation syndrome theory, and just making them understand that what was the cause of the disease in that particular cancer or disease, and then removing the conflicts, changing the lifestyle, and having the positive beliefs in that through the cognitive behavior therapy. So I think that is beyond the preview of this lecture, so that if anybody is interested, we can have that later on. So any other question? Yes? Am I audible?
हाँ जी सर.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, sir.
So this is enough for today, I think so.
सर बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे आज का ना लेक्चर. लाइक मैंने ये कॉग्निशन, परसेप्शन और बिहेवियर तो हमने उसमें पढ़ा था कि साइकोलॉजी में, बट उसको जैसे हमने आज आपने जैसे ऑर्गेनॉन के साथ रिलेट किया ना कि कैसे स्ट्रेस जो है वो भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकता है, वो बहुत बढ़िया लगा मेरे को तो.
और साथ में एग्जाम्पल्स जो थे वो इतने बेसिक और कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव है, यानी कि आराम से दिमाग में जाते हैं कि
यस कि कैसे कॉर्टिसोल का क्या इफेक्ट रहेगा, सब बहुत बढ़िया लगा. थैंक यू सर.
वेलकम.
थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू सर.
वेलकम.
सर कोई भी और सर कोई भी क्वेरीज आएंगी हम आपसे शेयर करेंगे सर, जो फेसबुक पर और जहाँ यूट्यूब पर आएंगे हमसे आपसे शेयर करेंगे सर.
ओके.
थैंक यू वंस अगेन सर.
थैंक यू.
सर हम फिर भी कोशिश करेंगे तो दोबारा लाने की आपको एक बार 1-2 महीने में. आई थिंक सर लेफ्ट कर गए.
हाँ जी
कोई बात नहीं, मैं सर से बात कर लूंगा.
योगेश फिर भी सर से बोलना थैंक्स मेरी तरफ से.
हाँ,
और
श्योर
हम लेके आएंगे सर को दोबारा ना.
बिल्कुल लाना चाहिए. हाँ, द पर्सन विद सच एक्सपीरियंस काम आता है हमेशा.
बिल्कुल. चलिए कल मिलते हैं नए डॉक्टर और नए टॉपिक के साथ. टिल देन बाय बाय, टेक केयर.